All right. Well, we've been getting some questions that people would like you to give some answers to. So the first question is, what determines health benefits through martial arts? Examples: Tai Chi, Bagua, 18 Lohan. And what are the differences that they bring?
That's a big question, which is why we're doing a video. Um, the health benefits of martial arts are all based on what they do to the body and mind when you practice them. And the reason that people get kind of confused about, well, which one's best for your health, which one's not, what does this do, what does that do, is because it's all based on Chinese medical theory. So if you're a martial artist, primarily, and your master says, this exercise is good for your health, Tai Chi is good for your health, I mean, you have to take them at their word, because you don't really know why. And to be totally honest, a lot of them don't really know why. Because there's a big difference between a martial artist and a doctor. So a folk master, as they're called, would be able to tell you, yeah, Tai Chi's been really good for arthritis. And maybe he even has a personal experience, like my arthritis is better because. But they might not be able to tell you why. Because they're martial artists, they're doctors. So this is where it all starts to get really convoluted and easy to get lost in, because it turns into a discussion about what Qigong is and what Chinese medicine is. And how does martial arts fit into that? Why am I even bringing Qigong and medicine into martial arts? It's because they're not different things. They're all aspects of the same thing. So if you're looking to practice for health, then you want to look at styles of practice that were created primarily for health. So, for instance, Tai Chi being the big one, everybody in the world talks about. Tai Chi is a martial art first. It was not created as a health system. It was created to screw dudes up and protect family. It just so happened that it accidentally, by obeying Taoist principles, became super healthy. And that makes a huge difference in what's going to happen to the population that does Tai Chi. So, for instance, in Tai Chi, if you're breathing properly, we'll say. No, even easier. If you're standing properly, if you have decent posture, right, what we call standing tall like the monkey, basically, putting the spine in traction above and below, so that you kind of extend out and you relax and you release from the top to the bottom, like you're suspended from a string, all the things you've heard. Well, physiologically, that does good things for you. Releases stress and tension, lets you move more naturally, makes you bear your weight differently. Tai Chi teaches you how to move your weight from side to side in a different way than is considered normal. All these things have an effect on your body. So, by practicing the martial art of Tai Chi, you tend to get healthier. But that's no guarantee. You want to know who destroys their knees more than any other martial artist? Tai Chi people. Especially Chen people like me. Chen is super hard on your knees if you do it wrong. Most Chen people will end up with knee replacements. In fact, Chen Xiaowang, I believe, the grandmaster of Chen, had a knee replacement when he was like 30, because he was grinding his knees apart when he was young. Didn't have quite everything, under control yet. So is Tai Chi good for your health? Sure. It's better at fighting, but it's good for your health.
What about Bagua?
Bagua is a martial art made to screw people up. Simple as that. Dong Haichuan, the guy who created it, was already a martial artist, a Shaolin martial artist, who ended up having an epiphany when he was working on his mind, essentially, doing some Taoist meditation. And he ended up, with that epiphany, noticing that Taoist meditation and martial arts aren't different. And that's what he ended up teaching. But he was teaching a martial system. That's why all the bodyguards wanted to learn it, and all these famous stories of his fighting and his students fighting became, a thing. They're legends now. Bagua people tend to have extremely good health. I remember reading a study somewhere a long time ago, but it was about Tai Chi people versus Bagua people, and they were looking at spinal health. And actually, the Bagua people had healthier spines. Their spines were younger looking than the Tai Chi people. Makes sense. Watch how Bagua moves. It's twisting the spine all of the time. What does Tai Chi do? Tends to keep the spine very still and move from the hips. Different kinds of health will come from that. That's all. That's all. They all do different kinds of breathing exercises, all these different things. But it all comes down to thematics. Why is breath a certain way during a certain move in Chinese martial arts? If it's a martial art movement, it's probably to make you hit harder. Simple as that. Because it's martial arts we're talking about. Context is everything. If you want to study something for health, you look at systems that were built for health first, right? So this is where you get the really, really famous qigongs, like Ba Duanjian, the eight silk brocades. I haven't had to translate that one. Eight silk brocade thread qigong, eight brocade, made for health, right? The five animal frolics, made for health, really, really old. That one, right back to Hua Tuo. Hua Tuo, of course, as you already know, watching this video, was the most famous Chinese doctor in Chinese medicine. He was doing surgery way back in the day. He's the guy who took the arrow out of General Guan's arm. Anyway, if the great doctor creates a qigong for health, it's primarily for health. It's going to do good things for you. It's going to make you a better fighter. Well, does making you healthy make you a better fighter? Do boxers get into really good shape before they go fight? Yeah. It's not different.
And 18 Lohan?
Sure, sure. The 18 Lohan Palm. 18 Lohan Palm is a bit of an anomaly. The Shaolin 18 Lohan Palm that I know is a health system. That is what it's based on. Forget legend and whatever. I learned it from my teacher, Master Chen. Master Chen's a Chinese doctor of some renown. And when he taught me, it was in a medical context. I mean, I was the martial arts guy, and when I met him, he said my outside Kung Fu, my external, was pretty good, my inside wasn't. The inside Kung Fu, the internal power is what people call it, right? And yeah, totally true. The dude could smash me around if he felt like it. But what happens is, the 18 Lohan is based on making your body as healthy as possible. It's actually built on trying to get your kidneys to function better. That's its main purpose, actually, is kidney function. Because if the kidneys, which are called the yin of the yin in Chinese medicine, the foundation of being alive, if they're alive and really healthy and working well, the rest of the body has something to stand on, right? That's the idea. You know, you can lose an arm and live. You lose your kidneys, you're done. You lose your heart, you're done. So a lot of qigongs have to do with that kind of health. Because any kind of, say, kidney qigong is going to move throughout the body and it's going to help everything else a little bit. So 18 Lohan Palm is based on kidney health, and it does lots of different methods of kidney health. Is it a martial art? Yeah. It's a qigong built for health that happens to know how to fight, though. I mean, it's nowhere near what Tai Chi or Bagua or any Shaolin art is as far as, like, how to smash people. But it's got some very high-level aspects of it that are used in fighting.
But it wasn't its primary focus, fighting. It was more on health as opposed to Tai Chi or Bagua, which was fighting first,
And
health second.
Yeah. Health almost by accident, I think, honestly, in some cases. I mean, Master Chen, when I was learning Lohan, we got through the whole system, right? I know everything in the system. It's time to learn fighting now. Because all I did was the Qigong. And he says, you know, Neil, you've done lots of Kung Fu. You go through the form and you show me what there is. Sweet. So I come to class one night, close up the medicine shop, and I'm showing him, yeah, this is a neck break, and this will smash a leg, and this should sweep this guy and knock him on his head. And all Sifu Chen would tell me is like, well, yes, but be more Buddhist. That's all it always was. It was like, yeah, you could do that and hurt somebody, but that's not the point of this. It's just not the point of this. The point of this as a martial art is to hurt them as little as possible. Whereas the point of something like Xingyi Liuhe is to make sure they die before they hit the ground. Those are super different things, right? So, I mean, I had to learn a lot from Master Chen in order to do that, in order to take my stuff and pull it all back into the mind that it was actually a health system I'm doing. And if you happen to get in the way of my health system practice, that's not my fault. It's kind of like a little kid swinging their arms. If you stand in my way, it's not my fault. Right. That kind of crap. But that, I don't know if that really answers the question I'm trying to answer it, but you have to look at things in a much more holistic way to get what's going on. That's why it's convoluted.
Instead of piecing it out individually, because they're all whole systems to begin with, but they just approach it from different spheres.
Right. So what's your thematic idea first? I mean, I think real ground zero is, what are you trying to study and why? I want to get better at martial arts is very different than I want to learn medicine, or I want to learn Qigong, or I want to be healthy.
Well, someone who struggles with a long-term back injury.
Yeah, that's a good example. What if I have a long-term back injury? What am I going to try to do? Am I going to try to be the best MMA fighter in the entire world? I mean, maybe if I'm an idiot, but probably not, right? I'm injured and I need to help that. I need
Yeah.
to fix myself. I need to have quality of life. So then you would start to go, okay, I need health. Now you're looking at a very specific goal, a very specific theme, and you could start getting even more specific from there. Like I said earlier, right? Bagua is really good for the back. If somebody had a back injury and they could handle some Bagua, that's where I'd put them. I wouldn't put them in Tiger system or something. It's not that good for your back. You roll around on it. That can't be nice. It doesn't make any sense.
So it's more or less pick the system with the intention of what your actual purpose is,
If you
whether
can
it's
figure
for
it out.
health or whether it's to learn martial skill.
And that's the issue, right? People don't, when you're not training already, it's really hard. You don't know the answers to these questions. Even yourself. When I started martial arts, I was young, I was 11 years old, and I was getting picked on. I was getting beat up by bullies, right? On the school bus and stuff. I saw a picture, a poster for a martial arts class. It wasn't for health that I was going. I wanted to kick bully ass. Simple as that. And because of that, I went in there with particular assumptions and a predisposition that I approached the whole thing with. That I eventually learned how to get over. But people do it all the time, and adults do it all the time. I've met grown men come into my class and tell me that they want to learn how to fight. And like they want to fight. They want to go and compete. They want to do all this other kind of stuff. And then, you see how injured they really are and how ill they really are. And you realize that they're not even aware of what's going on in their own body. So you have to help them find the theme that they need, right? Not
So
what they
rather
want.
than finding and choosing when you're thinking about choosing a specific discipline, if you will, you should consider all the aspects
Well, you
of
should.
what it is that you're looking for, both mentally, physically, and emotionally.
That's why it's complicated.
That's right.
That's the problem. There's too many factors in people's minds, or not enough. They just think they want to be the next MMA star, and not consider what that's going to do to their body, or not consider that maybe they just do not have the genetics to handle it or the mind to handle it. And in order to have let's say, the mind to handle actually going in and fighting in a competition, there's training you got to do for that. Not everybody can walk in to a competition ring in front of 100, 1,000 people and keep their shit together and then go fight. I mean, the first time I fought in a ring, like a boxing ring, elevated and stuff, it's weird. As soon as you get up on a platform, it's weird when there's a bunch of people. The Li Tai, yeah, it's weird, man. Everybody's looking at you. And unless you can get over that in that moment, you're already broken. Your mind's already broken, so you're going to lose. It's a big deal. So I think when you're training, you have to be very aware of what it is you're trying to do. Or if you're very lucky, you'll find a master who can help you figure that out. Rather than just take your money and give you a black belt one day. Because that's what happens. That's what happens. That's what happens. You get the ability to do certain kicks and punches, and you get your rank, and you never know why you learned them in the first place, or why you should ever do them, or what the consequences of doing them are, on someone else or for yourself. I mean,
So ultimately, the training never stops. It just changes its shape and form as you progress.
it should, yeah. It really should. I remember one of the biggest things my Shaolin teacher told me that really rocked me, one of my first real kind of lightning bolts in the brain, was, I don't know how old I was a teenager for sure, but sparring night, I'm the hot shot, I can kick real high, all that crap. And as I remember, I was really winded. I was like really tired, been sparring all night or whatever. And Sifu's like, Neil, you have good kicks. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, Sifu likes my kicks. I'm like, yeah, thank you. You should learn why to do them and when to do them, not just how. And I was like, oh my God. And then he went in and sparred and literally was like, I'm going to throw a front kick. And then he would throw a front kick and then he'd hit you. And then he'd be like, oh, sorry. I'm going to throw it with my right leg. Ready? And then he'd hit you. Because he knew when to throw it and how to throw it and why to throw it. I was just throwing kicks. Dom and Troy slapping him out of the air and looking at me, my brothers, right? He'd walk in and throw one, somebody goes down. But that's the difference, right? He wasn't beating anyone with his body at that point. He was beating them with his mind. And that's a big difference in anything. If martial arts is purely external, it means you're just trying to make your body beat their body. Well, as soon as anybody gets past that level, they're going to think, well, I need to have a better mind. This must be where I need chi and spiritual cultivation. And it sounds like bullshit, but it's not. If you don't know when and why to do a technique, you don't know the technique. You just don't.
It's like knowing the recipe, but not knowing how it should taste or come out of the oven, or...
Yeah, just because it looks like a cake doesn't mean it is one.
It doesn't mean it tastes like cake.
Right? Not if I made it. It's not going to taste like cake. You know, it's just the way it is. The farther in you go, the more you really have to study, I think, yourself. More so than the art or the style or discipline, however you want to put it. That discipline is a mirror for you to look at yourself. That's it. And if you're busy doing your moves instead of looking at yourself, you're just going to suck. You'll suck less every year. You'll suck less every 10 years.
But you won't get the full benefits of the
any
art
of it.
itself because you're only looking at one aspect.
Yeah, you won't get all the health benefits, or all the psychological, spiritual benefits, or all the physiological, physical benefits, because you don't really understand what you're doing. And that's why the Chinese arts are so weird and complicated, and there's all these secrets in them, and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of reasoning behind it. But some of it's good reasoning, some of it's bad. You know, most times there's no secrets. Really, they're just telling you that. And when there are secrets, they do hold them for only people they trust. And there were reasons for that, cultural reasons. You don't, one of my Tai Chi teacher, my very famous Tai Chi teacher, he tells a lot of stories about students who killed their masters in the past. People who would get, they'd be like 25, 30 years old, getting pretty good, getting pretty hot, and the master's getting old and slow, and they know they could take over the club if master wasn't around. A few hundred years ago, that wasn't super uncommon. So you go smoke the teacher. Well, you can't if the teacher knows something you don't. That's how stuff died, though. Really.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how you end up with these stupid lineages that think they have all the secrets. Like, it doesn't matter. What good are you doing keeping secrets from each other? That's the way I see it anyway. It's about us learning from each other and helping each other. Learning about ourselves. And it's as soon as we start to look at what are our assumptions in the first place of what a martial art is, or Qigong, or what Qigong is, or any of it, that's where you actually should start. What am I trying to accomplish? What's the theme of my training? Then you can maybe pick a direction, sort of. Because it's like you have a compass on your boat, but you're in the fog. Because if you haven't trained, right? That's the problem with not knowing, is you don't know. And unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of crap now on the internet. And there's always been crap. You can just see it now. But how does somebody disseminate that? How, right? And I think it's just a matter of they're not asking the right questions of themselves. Like, what am I really trying to get out of this?
So it's more or less ask yourself what is your motivation for whichever discipline you're looking at, and then see if that discipline fits with what it is that you really want and or need.
That's good. I like that. What's your motivation? It's very good. What's your motivation is exactly it. And your motivation will change. At least it should. I was like an 11-year-old kid who wanted to beat up this bully that was twice my size because he kicked my ass every day.
Which is different than someone who's 60 and trying to be in better health for mobility issues, so they have better quality of life.
Yeah. When I was teaching lots of Tai Chi classes, it was almost always balance. Falling and breaking a hip can end someone's life.
Yes.
When you're advanced in age, right? So they want balance. Well, now I'm starting to look at my Tai Chi set from a completely different point of view, because I'm the fighty guy. I'm looking at the Tai Chi set as, how do I destroy this man's leg? And these old ladies are like, I don't want to fall over.
They're trying to keep their legs.
So I had to go through it again and go, oh, well, the reason that there's all this weight control, for instance, in Tai Chi and the way it steps, all of this very, very, very exact weight control, is so that you have martial force and martial root. But it just so happens it also gives you a hell of a good sense of balance. That's where the fighting art becomes a health art, right? And vice versa. If I were teaching purely health stuff, I'd be doing 18 Lohan. But, even in 18 Lohan classes, I used to teach applications. Because sometimes people go like, why am I doing this? This doesn't make sense. This is a strange movement. But you stick a human in it, and you can go, well, what if somebody grabbed you like this? And then they go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And you can see their body absorb that, and they do the movement better, which means their health benefits are going to be more. If you do a movement at 10% right, you get 10% benefit. That's why there's so many levels and layers of detail, because really any good teacher is just trying to help you get better so you have a better result. You need to be getting the better result, though.
So not only look at the art that you are thinking about getting into, but also who's teaching it and where they're coming from, what their perspective is, and or how they are capable of adapting to what you need as a student.
I almost feel like we should start another video for that question.
All right, well, that can be the next one. All right.